5 years, and I've been in a couple different wards, a couple different schools. Yeah, so hi, welcome, and thank you for being here this morning.
All right, so let's take a moment to introduce ourselves in the chat box. There's quite a few of us on here today, so unfortunately we're not going to be able to use the audio. But if you'd like to put in the chat box your first and last name, where you teach, and on a scale of cat, how are you feeling today? You can type the number of the cat that represents how you're feeling today in the chat box. A 6. That's how I'm feeling too. It's Friday and that cat looks like it's smiling. Lots of 6s coming in the chat. Couple 5s. Alexa, I saw your coffee when you joined.
Tanaka, is there a way to turn on the live captions for people? I tried, but it's not working. Someone asked for the accommodation, but I'm not positive.
Annette, you want to chime in here? I know that I can do it after the fact with the recording. Okay. But I don't know how to turn it on.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn it on.
During the meeting.
I keep trying. I like click the little three dots. It says more actions, but every time I click it, it just says captions stopped.
It doesn't, and see, I don't have that option. I do know Octo has limited some of the functions for us over here at OPSI. So that may be one that's limited for us right now because I don't even have that option, but I can promise to, I'm recording the session now and then I'll attach the captions afterwards and they'll be available with the recording.
Got it. Thank you. Also, hi, Dr. Morant. My former math coach is on this call. She just joined. She taught me everything I know that I'm going to talk about here.
Such a great shout out. Well, today is definitely going to be a conversation. So if you have questions throughout, I encourage you to throw them in the chat box, or even there'll be an opportunity at the end where people can unmute themselves and ask their questions directly to Alexa or myself. Or if you want to share a tool, feel free to do that as well. Ones that tend to be really popular or haven't been featured yet can be featured in a later time. So we encourage all of your input and suggestions. I see lots of 2s, lots of 6s. It's got to be because it's Friday, or maybe that has the 6s have to do with we're at the end of the year here. All right, well, thanks for sharing about yourselves. As I mentioned before, the session is being recorded. So if you do not want to be on camera and recorded, you may want to turn your video off at this moment so that you're not featured. All right, on the screen are our norms for our engagement today and some notes for this online environment. So take a moment to read them. We encourage lots of participation in the chat. There won't be any polls today. However, at the end of the session, we will have a discussion period. So if during that time, if you'd like to unmute yourself or use your video, that'd be awesome. We're going to start by sharing the tool and how Alexa's been using it in her classroom. Then we'll have some Q&A and group discussion, and then we'll wrap up. So let's dive in. We'll start by just talking about what exactly is Explain Everything. If you haven't heard of it before, it's a platform that allows users to visualize conversations. So you can use sketches and drawings. Creators can upload a picture or PDF, and then you can record video or annotate right on top of that picture or the PDF. You can invite others to write on it with you at the same time, kind of as you would do with like a Google Doc. However, what's different is that it's actual annotation. So if you have a tablet or an iPad, you can actually use your finger to write with it as opposed to just typing and sharing that way. In today's example, Alexa's going to share in the context of how she's been using it in math class. So Alexa, why don't you start by just telling us why you started to use this tool?
So I started using this tool because when we started learning at home at the very beginning, only 2 out of my 66 4th and 5th grade math students had access to technology or Wi-Fi. So immediately I was getting calls and texts from parents that were like, I'm trying to help my child. I don't understand. They don't understand. We're all frustrated. And so, you know, after a couple attempted calls on the phone, that just wasn't enough for the math work. So I came up with an idea and I was like, how can I create videos that my students can watch like on a phone? A lot of them have phones, or their parents at least have a phone that they could watch a video on. So I started out with just a whiteboard and a camera on my laptop, literally just holding up like this little whiteboard. Then I transitioned to whiteboard paper on my wall. And finally a friend from home that is a technology teacher emailed me and was like, hey, have you heard of this app? I think you could really use this. And so I looked into it and it completely changed my life and made it so much easier and better for my students.
All right, so let's talk a little bit before we even take a look at what it looks like. I want to chat about the feedback that you've been getting from parents and students. I feel like that is kind of the why for, you know, why anyone would even begin to try and use this tool. So share a little bit about the feedback that's on the screen, maybe give context. Let's start with the text message on the right.
Okay, so, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So a lot of my students have parents who are essential workers. They're working all day. They're trying to support their kids. And so I knew that at the beginning when I was texting them, sometimes I would get responses, sometimes I wouldn't. So once I decided to create my YouTube channel, I sent this link out and I heard from 32, I think, out of 66 families, which was the most responses I'd gotten since we started learning at home. And so this text message was just an example of a mom who works all day. And I checked in with her one day and she was telling me that they do the videos every night when she gets home, or every evening they watch them together. And because she can't help him during the day, so they'll go over it, they'll watch the videos. And so we talked back and forth, and she's a very supportive mom and was doing her best. And she would always send updates like, oh, I saw your catwalk in the video today. You know, we love your joke of the day, those kind of things. So it was really good to hear back from them. And I just got a lot of responses that were positive. And a lot of parents were just relieved that they finally had someone to, like, they could have their child sit in front of the video, go through the math packet with me as like a guided practice, and then kind of a scaffold into independent work without anybody crying or feeling frustrated or, you know, starting a fight. So
yeah, and I think it also lends itself to an opportunity for parents to help their child too, right? Because they're getting exposed to the content as well as you're going through it in the videos.
Yes, we had parents that were like, I'm sitting here working it out too. I'm learning so much, I forgot all of this, or that kind of thing. So.
And then on the left, I took some screenshots of your YouTube page just to get a sense of the amount of interactivity that you're getting there. So as you can see, there's like 53 views for some of these videos, 26 views on one of your 5th grade videos. Your kids seem to really be engaged in connecting to the YouTube channel and watching it.
Yeah, it was great. I created a teacher Instagram too, because a lot of kids have Instagram these days. So that was one of our tactics at the beginning, to still talk to the students. And so I would do some check-ins there, but really I saw the most by checking my views. So knowing that, you know, 26 views, obviously there could be some other people in there just checking it out. But, you know, hopefully that means that there were a lot more students watching them. And then students were also able to send me pictures of their work once they had watched the video.
Nice. So let's talk about how it actually works and what it looks like. Why don't you start by explaining how you actually create the videos? So what tools are you using? Where are you getting the worksheets from, and so forth?
Okay, so I download the PDFs from the website when we were getting emails from Aussie or OTL that was sending out, click here for all of the links to the work packets. Sometimes I got them from the links that are available to students and families on the Canvas website, and sometimes I went to the actual OneDrive folder that they created for teachers. So I downloaded them as a PDF. And then once it's downloaded as a PDF, whether it's on your computer or a tablet on your iPad, then when you open Explain Everything, you have the option they have lots of templates, or you can start with a whiteboard, but you can also upload a PDF or a picture. There was a time before I figured out the PDF thing where I was just taking screenshots and uploading those, but then I realized you can upload a PDF. And what I love is that because the packets are like 100 pages long, when you upload the PDF, it gives you options to select specific pages. So I would go to the day that I wanted and the week that I wanted, and I would select just the pages for day one.
Okay.
And then it would look like that once it loaded.
So once it loads, then what do you do? How do you work through the packet?
Okay, so there are a set of tools on the side on the left. And when you first start the app, it'll walk you through all the different tools. And then
I think I have a screenshot on this one. There you go.
Yes,
the tools
right
are on
there.
the left-hand side here.
Yep. So the tools are on the left. The ones that I use the most is the pen, obviously, and then the highlighter for when I figured out how to shade in the units on the tape diagram without using the pen. And then I use the tool. I figured out how to use the shape tool so that I could draw better tape diagrams instead of my very crooked rectangles. So those are really the only tools that I use the most. There are a ton of tools that you can use. If you're really into editing, you can really edit these videos to make them great. As a teacher who had to make 2 videos per day because I teach 2 grades, I did not have time for that. So if you watch my videos, you'll hear me, it's pretty candid. Unless I really messed up, you can go back and fix it and erase that section. But for the most part, I just babbled on like I normally would in class and paused for.
Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look. We've got a snippet of one of your videos, so I'm going to go ahead and play it so that people can see. And then I want you to talk about once you've created the video, what happens next? How do you share it with students?
Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to draw 2 tape diagrams. Okay, so here is one tape diagram, and here is another tape diagram. Okay, just make those the same. Here we go. All right, now we are going to show 1/2 on the first tape diagram. All right, so I'm going to split this into 1/2, and I'm going to shade in one of the units. All right, next I'm going to divide this into fourths because my fraction is 1/4. So I'm going to divide it in half and then divide it into fourths. And here I'm going to shade in one piece, which is 1/4. All right, so now I need to decompose my my tape diagram with the bigger unit size. All right, so here the units are much bigger, the halves are much bigger than fourths. So I'm going to take these halves and I'm.
All right, so there you can see how you talk right over the worksheet as you're drawing and writing on the worksheet. About how long does it take you to record and like put one of these together? And then once it's recorded, what do you do with it?
So it takes about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how long the packet is. As you could tell in that video, I did not edit it. So while I was thinking, or if I was like, wait, how do I want to say this? There was some space in there when I was talking. So you just record over it. And then it takes me, again, about 20 to 30 minutes, just depending on the length of the work for that day. And then what I love about this app is that you can upload it directly to YouTube if you're using YouTube. And a variety of other things. So you can upload it directly to Google Drive or OneDrive, or you can just upload it to your computer. So there's just a little button where you click share, and then you get to decide how you want to download it. So I would always click video. I want it to download as a video, and then I would automatically download it to YouTube. There was a place where I could connect my YouTube account. So it was so easy.
And all that's within the app. So you don't have to like leave
all of
the
it's within
app
the
to do it. All of it's in the app. Great.
The only thing I did was on my computer, I would go to my YouTube channel just to add my little Math with Miss Cacibauda thumbnail on it, and type in because you can type in the description. You can do everything from your tablet or computer if you're doing this on the computer app.
Great. All right, let's pause here and see what questions are coming in from the audience. Annette, do you have anything coming through right now? Questions about how to use it or?
Feel free to type your questions into the chat box if you have any thoughts or questions about this. We do have a comment that they like how you can upload directly multiple spaces, especially since kids can't access YouTube on their DCPS device. We do have a question about, can you connect other apps to this, for example, BrainSpace?
I don't know specifically about BrainSpace. I don't know too much about it. Alexa, do you know?
I also don't know a lot about BrainSpace. I do know, for the virtual manipulatives, I know what you're talking about. I have not tried that. I have not looked into that because my knowledge about virtual manipulatives came after I started using this. But that is a good question, and that is something that now I will look into. But I also did notice that some students couldn't access YouTube on their DCPS devices, which is why I started uploading it to the weekly emails that I sent to families as well.
And also some questions around if you can add 2 images.
You can, and we'll get into the images, right? Is that in a couple slides tonight? Yeah. We'll be showing you about that in just a couple slides.
So let's talk about some of the instructional benefits, and the multiple images is one of the instructional benefits. So that'll come up. We'll answer that in just a few. When Alexa and I were talking about this and kind of debriefing, one of the benefits that we found was that students have an opportunity to kind of represent ideas and use models that they wouldn't have had in that remote learning environment. So Alexa, why don't you tell us a little bit about how this screenshot is from one of your videos. How did being able to draw the fraction models help students understand the skill here with fractions?
So being able to use the tools and stuff like this, I really liked being able to show them how to draw the tape diagram still. That's kind of hard, when you're talking on the phone to a student or trying to help them. It can be really confusing. And again, this was before I had any students on Microsoft Teams or anything like that. So I was able to still show them, like, this is how you represent 3/4 on a tape diagram. Go ahead and draw this and, represent 3/4 first. And then go ahead and draw this tape diagram. So it still gave the visual models and the math models that are so important, especially in the upper grades, so that the students could understand and still see multiple ways to solve a problem like this, where you are adding 2 different fractions, or fractions with 2 different denominators.
Yeah, and when students are home and don't have access to like the same tools they would have in the classroom, like fraction bars or a manipulative of some sort, like this, they're going to have to rely on these drawings and models to really help make sense of the math. So
yeah, I thought that I also found that this tool, drawing these tools, were easier than when, I know some schools we weren't, but some schools were using like OneDrive, PowerPoints for kids to interact with, those kind of things. My students had the hardest time trying to figure out how to draw a tape diagram on there. So I thought this was a little straightforward. I see some questions. Allison, I haven't tried uploading it directly into Canvas yet because we weren't using Canvas, but I know that you can upload it into PlayPosit. I have not personally been using PlayPosit yet, but again, I know that all of these are coming into DCPS. So in the future, I will be uploading these onto those. And Dr. Morant, you can interact with it and you can share the page.
We'll show that a little
we'll
bit
show you
later,
that
too.
in just a minute. When you share the link with them, they can access it. They don't have to have the app. They can do it from their computer. It'll come up like in a web page.
And it is free. A couple.
It
people,
is free. They've been doing right. They've been doing free, and then they did like the premium free for educators. So that's what I've been using. That's exactly why I used it as well, because I learned that they were doing it free because of the pandemic.
And just as a disclaimer, Whitney.
I haven't tried to use it in Teams yet, because at the time we weren't using Microsoft Teams, but students can also submit it.
You and I did. We did the live collaborate board. We did. You can do it in Teams. We're going to show you that today. And just as a disclaimer, Whitney, all the tools that are being featured this month, they're all free, or they have a free version that teachers can work with. So yes, yay for free.
Yes, always.
All right. Let's talk about how this tool helps you provide students with an opportunity to make connections between symbols and concepts. So I've got a screenshot of one of your Explain Everything videos where you were able to lay two images on top of each other. So you've got your anchor chart there on the right for quadrilaterals, and then the worksheet or the work packet on the left as well. So why don't you talk through a little bit how you use those two images together?
Sure. So I saw a question earlier about, can you upload more than one image? You can, and this is how. There's also different templates that let you upload like multiple images, but the way that I did it was I had the PDF of the packet up, and then when it got into quadrilaterals, you can upload multiple pictures and overlay them onto the screen, and it's super easy. At the very top of the toolbar, on the left, there is just a little page with a plus sign, and that's how you add. You can add a photo to lay on top of it, and it just uploads it right away, and then you can size it. So here I uploaded our quadrilaterals anchor chart, because there are so many different quadrilaterals and their attributes, and students have a hard time remembering all of those. So this was a way that students could work through the packet, and we could work through the packet while also referencing that quadrilaterals anchor chart. I do upload my anchor charts into Microsoft Teams and the files, but again, I really liked that this could give them the anchor chart and then also the packet still in front of them.
Yeah, without having to open too many screens either. It's kind of like simulating if they were in the classroom and they needed help on their independent worksheet, they might look up at the anchor chart. And so now they can just glance right over within the worksheet.
Yes, and I see that someone put in the link. They did say that the extended trial, the free version would be available now till the end of July. And when I actually talked to someone from Explain Everything, they said that they are just going to keep seeing, like, they'll keep considering extending it the longer that this pandemic happens, because they know that it's been very helpful to teachers. Because I did call to ask specifically about that, like, what if it comes August and I still want to use this? Is this going to be available?
All right, so one of the other benefits that we uncovered was that it also gave students an opportunity to receive immediate feedback on the independent practice. So we're going to watch another short video clip of how Alexa was able to provide that opportunity for students.
Go ahead and pause the video, and you can either time yourself if you have a cell phone with a timer or a watch nearby, or you can just work at your own pace. That's totally fine. And then when you're ready, I want you to press play so we can go over them together. Okay, so assuming now that you have finished and you press play and you're ready to check your answers, we are going to go through each one. So we're going to start with 2 minus 1, and that's pretty easy. We know this in 4th grade. 2 minus 1 is going to give me 1. Okay, next we
All right, anything you want to add there, Alexa?
Yeah,
what was your thinking behind that?
Yeah, for a bit I considered putting up a timer, but just letting the timer count down like it normally would for sprints. The reason I decided not to is because I had gotten feedback from students that were using this more as they had already completed the packet and they were checking their work. So I decided that they were like, well, if I want to stop, then I can pause it or I can rewind it. So instead of doing like a timer countdown, I gave students the option to, pause it and then time yourself, or pause it and just do the whole thing at your own pace. Or if you don't feel like you're at that level yet, go ahead and just work through it with me. And I know that is there is a part of me as a teacher that was like, well, some students may not even be doing it on their own. Maybe they're just working through it with me. And I totally get that. But again, my thinking was just that we are in the middle of a pandemic. And so if I can get these students to sit down and do any type of math right now, even if it's guided practice with me, that is enough. So I knew which students really were going to utilize the independent practice method, and which students reached out for more help. But again, I did really just, the point was to get them in front of math, doing math every single day.
Yeah, it's a win either way, however they chose to do it.
Right. Yes.
Tamika in the chat is saying,
I love it.
Cares?
Yeah, exactly right. Accessibility. That's the goal.
Yep. All right. So as Alexa and I were debriefing about this, we also came across another feature that, although Alexa didn't use it in her classroom, it's one that she said she might even consider using in the fall. And this is the broadcasting feature that they have on Explain Everything. So this is a tool that could be great for remote lectures, or in any situation where you want students to like actively participate. So let's say you're doing like a team small group or something, and you want to have students work on the same problem and be able to see what their thinking is, and without having to like hold their worksheet up to the camera. You could use Explain Everything for that. And so we're going to demonstrate that now. I'm going to put in the chat box the link to the Explain Everything board. And I'm going to have you open up a new window so that you can see as well. And Alexa, I'm going to give you the...
Okay, is it this? I wasn't sure if it was the same one.
Same one. It is the same one. Did it show up in your...
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. So hold on 1 second. I'm gonna get that.
Yeah, this is actually a feature that I had not tried until Tanaga brought it up, and we tried it together, and it was so awesome.
All right, I'm putting the link in chat. You should be able to click on it, and it'll take you to the same board that we are looking at here on the screen. Alexa's already in the board. You can see, if you're just viewing from my screen, you can see that she's in pink and my name's in the blue over there. What you would do is you would just open up your Explain Everything account that has the board with the problem set on it. So I just took this from one of the Engage New York problem sets. And I would click on the invite button to invite my students to the Explain Everything board. And then I'll be able to control, just like you would with a Google Doc, who gets to view and who gets to edit. And you can see here that I've added Alexa as a viewer, but I'm going to change her to edit right now. If I can get it to, there we go, and then save. And so now Alexa has the ability to actually write on this worksheet while everyone else in the class is viewing it at the same time. So this particular activity is asking students to partition the beaker into fourths. So Alexa, do you want to go ahead and take the tools, and she can write on the screen and explain her thinking while the rest of the class is watching. And then I can go back to that invite button and call on another student. So I can change Alexa back to just viewing mode and choose another student to be able to edit and do the third.
Okay, so I'm going to partition my beaker into fourths. So I'm going to split it in half first and then split it into fourths. And I'm doing this because my denominator is 4. So that is the total number of units I have. Then I'm going to shade in one of the units to represent the fraction 1/4.
And if we really wanted to get fancy, we could have recorded that and shared that with maybe students that weren't able to participate in the live session today, and they could still see their classmates and their teacher working through problems together.
Yeah, Sarah, I also noticed that because I clicked the link in the chat to see Saga. So I think when you click the link, it doesn't. I think you actually have to invite people.
Oh, okay.
I'm
So when I put
sure.
this join code in, it didn't. People couldn't see. I see a couple people joined us.
Oh.
So if I put this join code, so if you're sharing with your class, you could put the join code in. Okay. And just share that, and then anyone with the link should be able to view.
Okay. Did anyone else see a blank screen, or were other people able to get in? Ah, okay. Vicky says, click the 3 dots and select join. Got it.
Okay, did it work for everybody? I see a couple people in here, so
it must be explainer. Okay. Muted. Yeah, that's awesome. I am very excited to look into using that with students.
Okay, you had to download the app. And I know if you're on a computer, I think you can just put the website in. There's nothing that you have to download. But if you're on an iPad or something of that.
You have to download if you're on a tablet. That's good to know.
Yeah. Okay. So that's just one more way that you could use this tool in addition to creating your own videos and so forth. All right, so let's take a moment, and I'm gonna just share some recommendations that Alexa and I were kind of brainstorming, like what are some best practices that she's discovered while using it, and just things that you'll want to consider. Again, Asi's not necessarily endorsing this platform, but we're just sharing this as a resource. So it's not that, you have to use this or anything, but these are things that you might want to consider thinking about if you're considering this tool. So the first one is just considering the devices that are available. Obviously, since you're annotating, anything that you could use your finger for or a stylus, those would be the best kind of devices if you want students to actually write on the document. It's a little harder to do if you just have a mouse, unless you're doing an activity like the one I shared today where you're just drawing a line to divide a beaker. That is pretty simple. But if you want students to actually write and work out a problem, it may be harder if they don't have a stylus or a tablet. PDFs or pictures of a worksheet is a really easy start. I think Alexa said in the beginning, you started with just pictures, right?
I did, yeah. I made screenshots. I took screenshots of the PDF before. There was like a time where I could only seem to get it on a Word document and not a PDF, I think in like the first 2 weeks. And then, and so I just took screenshots of each page and then uploaded them as images.
And then some other tips just for like recording, if you are going to use just the video feature, it's suggested on their website that you record your video first and then put your audio on top. So you don't have to do them simultaneously. I know Alexa said she did do them simultaneously, and then any errors that she made, she just used that as a teachable moment. And I thought that was a really great suggestion because our kids, our students need to see that we make mistakes as well. And that's part of the teaching, is thinking aloud and modeling for them. So I think it's okay if you choose not to do that, but if you are someone who wants to make sure that all the pieces fit together, then you may want to record that video first and then do the audio afterwards. It's also recommended that you might do it in bite-sized chunks, especially if you're working with older students. You don't want to do a 50-minute lecture. Maybe break it up and do it in 10, 15-minute chunks over the course of multiple days. And then Alexa, I'll let you talk about this last one, the privacy and comment settings on YouTube. I noticed when I went to your YouTube page, I wasn't able to make comments. Do you want to share a little bit about those features and settings that you can control when sharing on whatever platform?
Sure. So when I uploaded my videos to YouTube, I always selected made for kids. And so that did something on YouTube where, kids, even if they were on blocked content by their parents or that kind of thing, if they were on like a parental control, they could still see it. It also seemed to automatically, like, I did not have comments allowed on my posts, so people could like it. So if they were subscribed to my YouTube channel, they could still like it, or dislike it, I guess, if they wanted to. But they could not post comments. That wasn't really intentional at first, and then it just kind of happened, and I realized that I was like, oh, well, that's probably good. So yeah, so you can use that if you don't want people commenting on your videos, if you don't sorry, I was reading the comments. If you don't want students to be able to comment, or you're worried about the privacy things, that kind of thing. I've also been told that it's kind of, my YouTube channel was like hard to find, but I don't know if that's true or not, or if that has to do with my privacy settings. I tried to like go in and look, but I do know that YouTube has a lot of different settings for the privacy that you can set if you are concerned about that. And yeah, Dr. Morant answered that question. For Eureka, this is just if you're using
it's for educational
if you're using
purposes,
the Eureka,
so.
you can get them, you can get the like free access, the free stuff online, and that is what I would be using.
All right.
Is there any other questions?
Well, this time we're going to transition to the Q&A, which has already been kind of happening in the chat box, so and the group discussion. So I'm going to put some questions on the screen. You don't have to have conversation about those questions, but it's just there to kind of guide us if we need some additional talking points. But feel free to just share your thoughts specifically about Explain Everything, how you might use it in your classroom, what's getting you excited about it right now. I see a lot of comments in chat, like this is really cool, very interested in using it. I heard also a suggestion about whiteboard.fi. Yes, that came up last week as well. It's very similar to this. But I don't think it has as many features in terms of being able to like draw a rectangle that could be used as a tape diagram, or being able to draw shapes and collaborate all on the same board at once. With whiteboard.fi, each student gets their own whiteboard, and then the teacher can display those whiteboards while everybody is in different locations. So, but yes, another great tool.
Going to trial for summer bridge, that's good. Yeah, again, this was also just, I had tried Loom first. So when I first started recording videos, this was like the third one I tried, the third place that I tried. So first I was just using the video camera app on my computer to record videos. Then I found out about Loom, but I was having so much trouble. I would like record a whole video and then it only recorded like the first 5 seconds. And after that happened to me like 4 times, I was done. I tried Screencastify, which I kind of liked, but then someone recommended this and it just worked for me. So this was also before, any kind of Microsoft Teams access was available to my students. It was before, they said that we're going to be using Canvas in the fall. My school was not using Canvas as of now. So I'm interested. I love that you guys are giving other recommendations like the whiteboard thing, because I had not heard of that at all.
Yeah, that one's come up twice now, so that maybe that'll be one that we'll feature if someone in the audience is using it or has used it and has some evidence of it. Feel free to reach out to me. You just gave a plug, Alexa, for next week's session, which is on Screencastify. So
that was a big one. I had some colleagues that used it.
Yeah, if anyone's interested in that one, we'll be featuring Screencastify next Friday, and at the end of the month, our last one will be on Edulastic. Couple comments coming in about this will be great for IEP goals, ensuring that students can participate.
Nicole, my special education co-teacher, actually said that after I made my first video, she looked into it because she was like, this is amazing for differentiation, for just giving accessibility to all students.
Couple of ideas coming in about maybe using the videos for students that were absent from the live session, or even when the school, like if we're all do reconvene at one point and get to see each other's faces again.
Yes.
It could be, you could record videos that way as well for students that maybe are absent or missing class. Couple comments. Can you record your class using whiteboard? Anna, do you want to unmute and maybe ask or add on to that? I also see there's a question about, oh, Edulastic won't be used in the fall. I know it's going to be free forever. Oh, okay. This is like an internal thing, some people are saying.
Yeah, they're transitioning to ANET now.
Okay. Couple thoughts about using it as an accommodation tool for students who receive services. You might even consider, it's very easy to use. You might even consider having students, like flipping your classroom and having students record themselves explaining how they solved a problem. So maybe your student can't, write out a long paragraph, but they could explain it orally using this video feature and record themselves and share their thinking that way. What challenges do you all anticipate with using something like this? Maybe it's something that Alexa has overcome, or even you, Alexa, are there any challenges that you came across that we could kind of think through together?
I'm trying to think.
Or was it easy peasy? That would be great too.
Honestly, it was. I'm trying to look at it from a lens of someone who maybe is not as tech savvy. I feel like I come from a family of pretty tech savvy people, and so I am always into downloading apps and just trying it out anyway. I mean, I did play around with it for sure for probably about an hour before I tried to make my first video. And did you experience lagging when you have more than 30 students? So I didn't have students in my videos for this. And although I do teach, I had more than 30 students in my both of my classes. They were not all able to log in at the same time. So honestly, I have no experience with teaching that many kids virtually at one time yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
DCS
I think it is suggested on Edulastic. I mean, on Explain Everything, that you don't have more than like 10 people collaborating at the same time. I would probably follow the same kind of rules that you would with any other collaborative software. To have 10 people working on a piece of chart paper in your room would be a little hard as well. So probably keeping it to small group size would be best anyways.
My thought was using this, if I was going to have them collaborate, was to use this more for like small group instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, technology literacy. I mean, that was another thing. It's hard to teach students all these different platforms. And so, again, I didn't have experience teaching any students with this because I was just using it for me to create videos for them. But I absolutely agree that that has been a huge barrier this entire time of learning from home is, how students didn't really have time to learn any of the things
technology
that we had to put them, that we had to put them on because it happened so fast. And I hope that that's something that's going to be addressed when we go back in the fall.
And that also, I'm going to give another plug for next week. Screencastify is great for just demonstrating how to do something on your computer screen. So that tool actually records what you're doing on your computer screen and records your audio over top of that. So that's another quick and easy. I mean, I learned Screencastify in 5 minutes or less. So you can record a video in 15 minutes tops and show your students, here's how to use Explain Everything, here are the tools. And if you're not into creating your own, there's a lot of videos on YouTube and on these websites, the vendors' websites, of how to use the tools. So you can always share those videos with students as well.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you're using a tablet and you don't have a stylus, I will tell you what I did when it was March and I couldn't get anything from Amazon quickly, and I had all my styluses were in my classroom. You can make your own because science. So just a plug there if you are ever in the situation where you need a stylus. I thought that writing with my finger was too annoying because my fingers just felt too big for the screen. So I really just want you to know that this is very accessible, and you can also use this in a variety of ways. So you don't have to have like an Apple Pencil and an iPad or anything necessarily fancy. Obviously, it's awesome if you have that because it's probably easier. But I was definitely using a homemade stylus with like a wet Q-tip and aluminum foil for.
We totally need to have seen that, Alexa.
Yeah, it's really bad. Like I have a picture somewhere of it. It was rough, but it worked.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing today, Alexa. We appreciate you being transparent and willing to share your experience with Explain Everything. Technical assistance is available. With this particular session, it could look like working with a grade level team to record and explain everything video, or like pre-planning what content you might include in your video. I am available. You can use my email address that's going to be on the following screen, and Annette will put it in the chat box as well if you'd like to reach out and receive some additional assistance. This session is being recorded and will be posted on the OSCE website. And if you need it sooner than later, you can email me directly as well, and I can share it with you that way. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great weekend.